Hello and welcome, everyone. This is the Smithsonian Learning Lab office hours. I'm Philippa Rappaport. I'm an educator at the Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Access, which is the office that has produced the Smithsonian Learning Lab. So today you are at our office hours, which are held every Tuesday, almost every Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. You can find the schedule of office hours and other digital opportunities on our events page. The URL is shown here. And so I'm here today to answer any questions you have. Maybe you have technical questions about the lab and its functionality, how to create a collection, how to add resources, how to do a search. Maybe you want to ask about specific resources on the collections or on our Smithsonian collections. So please just feel free to send questions my way. If you're joining us today through YouTube, you can pose a question through the chat function on the right-hand side of your screen. And if you're joining us today through Facebook, you can send your questions through the comment button in the bottom center. So the Learning Lab is a digital platform that you can use to discover millions of resources from across the Smithsonian. And by resources, we mean artwork, historical documents, photographs, videos, podcasts, learning resources, and much more. Registered users of the lab can aggregate this content and pull in websites and upload their own resources and create what we call collections. And that's for use in the classroom, outside the classroom. So to aid teachers in distance learning through this pandemic and beyond, we have put together this distance learning page. So the address is down in the bottom right there. And when you go to this distance learning page, you can access all kinds of content there. It's split up by grade level, by content area. There's also information there for caregivers, Spanish speakers, and also for students who are accessing the lab on their own. So again, if you've just arrived, my name is Philippa Rappaport, and I'll be here for the next hour to answer any questions you have about the Learning Lab. You can post your questions in the chat function, either from the top right or from the bottom center, and I'll be looking out for your questions. So right now I'm going to switch my screen to the lab, and I will wait for your questions to come in through the chat. So while we're waiting for questions to come in, I'm going to mute myself and turn off the camera, but I'm here and I'll be watching the chat. And so please send your questions if you have them. Hello, I'm just checking back in. These are our drop-in office hours for the Smithsonian Learning Lab. If you are here and you have a question about how to use the lab, how to search, how to add resources, how to create a collection, any questions about resources, please feel free to post them in the chat section, which you can find either on the right-hand side of your screen or the bottom center. And I'll be here waiting for your questions to come in through the comments. So please send them my way if you have them. Thanks. Hi, Rebecca. Thank you for your question. So let me just read it. I'm actually watching to see how this works. Oh, excellent. Okay, no, Rebecca, please, no one has been sending questions, so please fire away. I'm happy to answer anything. If you'd also like just an overview, if you think that would be useful, we can do that too. So, so you're asking behind the scenes, behind the scenes questions. Yeah, so actually, we're working on our strategy now. So we offer weekly office hours. We also do all kinds of programming based on sort of larger projects that help us connect with school districts and various audiences. And then my colleague Tess Porter and I, so she's the one who has been running these question sessions. She and I and Darren are putting together a strategy for more outreach. So it is kind of it's a big question. You know, it takes a lot of time to sit down and figure that out. But I think the rewards are there for you. You know, it occurs to me, I mean, I don't know if there's anyone else here now. Sometimes it's hard to tell from the numbers, but I'm sure Tess and I would be happy to talk with you also, you know, when we're not recorded. And I don't mean that we're saying anything that shouldn't be recorded. I just mean if a teacher does come, then, I'd want to be available for questions. But would you like to set something up and talk another time? Rebecca, I'm not sure if you're still there. So I guess if no one else is here, I'm happy to talk more too. Do you mind if I keep this on? Yes, of course. Please keep it on. Do you want to put a more specific question in the chat about what you're thinking? So a couple of things to think about, Rebecca, while you're planning this, is there's the time that goes into the actual production of it. So there's the strategy, there's the production of it, and then there's also the prep. So sometimes we think about who our audience will be for the different programs. And so when we're thinking about our strategy moving forward, if we have specific programs, we'll want to tailor it for that age group or that content area. There are a lot of different factors to consider when you're putting it all together. So right now when we think about branching out into other types of programming, we're putting together different scripts for what the different programs will be. Maybe a list of examples of what to show. I'm trying to think of ways to talk about it that it will just be transferable for you. By the way, I really love the content of your museum. I use your stuff all the time. I think it's really amazing. Yeah. So there's a lot of similarity. So you're working with the Education Initiatives Department. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so we're doing some programming in Texas for ethnic studies. So it's probably similar strategically, in thinking about how to get across the country and connect. That's really exciting. I was just telling my colleagues that I saw a statistic the other day that less than 30% of people in their 20s and 30s believe that the Holocaust happened in the US. It's hard to wrap my mind around that. So what are you thinking of with the money from Congress? Have you thought about how you will scale it? Yeah. So Rebecca, doing PD nationwide and needing a more constant touch, that's exactly what we've been thinking too. So when we do some of our trainings now, we're starting to add in multiple meeting sessions rather than, sort of big drop-in sessions. we're thinking more about how to spread it out over time so the teachers have time to think about it in the downtime, create their content, workshop their content. So I totally agree with you. Oh, that's great. So that's really great that you're, scheduling all meetings and getting ideas from colleagues. Mm-hmm. Have you had success with webinars in the past? Like, what's your viewership for a webinar? I'd be curious to learn that too. And if you have pre-registration and what's the percentage of people who show up? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Wow, that's impressive. 1,000 at your conference. That's amazing. Yeah, so that's a whole other piece of it is the review of the collections once they're published. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, so we deal with a lot of the same things. Hmm. And then you must have a lot of recorded content that teachers can access afterwards, or? Yeah, I would love to learn more about what you're doing, beyond message, beyond the chat, because it's sort of hard to carry on the conversation. Oh, that's great. Yeah. So you're thinking to create your own platform? Mm-hmm. Oh, that's great that you're recording content. I actually know someone who works with survivors in the Chicago area who helps record for your museum. Yes, please, absolutely. Please reach out. I'd love to talk more. I'm sure Tess would be interested too. Becca, I just put my email in the chat. Oops, but I didn't say edu. Okay, if you're just joining us, my name is Philippa Rappaport, and I'm an educator with the Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Access, and I am watching the chat here, so please feel free to send any questions you have about the Learning Lab, how to create collections, how to search on the lab, how to upload resources. Maybe you're looking for specific suggestions about content. So please feel free to just post your questions in the chat. Thank you. And thank you, Rebecca. I'll look forward to hearing from you. If you're just joining us today, my name is Philippa Rappaport, and I work at the Smithsonian Center for Learning and Digital Access, which is the office that produced the Smithsonian Learning Lab. We hold our drop-in office hours just about every Tuesday from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I am standing by in case you have any questions that you'd like to paste into the chat. So please send them my way. If not, then please come again another time when you have more of a sense of what you want to ask. But I'm happy to answer any questions you have. And until then, I will turn off my camera and just watch the chat. Thank you. Thank you for joining us today. We'll be back next Tuesday between 4 and 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You can find the schedule on our homepage under the Learn section of the Learning Lab. And if you have any questions between now and next Tuesday, please feel free to reach out to our team by emailing learninglab@si.edu. Thank you. Have a good week, everyone.